Keeping records of your guppies. With so many tank and inhabitants, it can be difficult to keep track of things. This is why I recommend that you not only devise a breeding plan, but also that you document everything you're doing. Keeping records helps you assess your progress and know where you're at with your plan. It also helps avoid confusion and mixing up your fish, not knowing which fish are which. Here are some useful tips to keep tabs on everything that's happening during breeding. 1. Assign your guppy fish a number or letter. Identify parents, generational offspring with numbers of letters. 2. Mark each tank with the corresponding number or letter. 3. Make sure you keep track of the relation between fish, e.g. daughter-father, siblings, half-siblings, etc. This can be important because at breeding certain combinations can produce bad offspring, e.g. male guppies breeding with their mother. 4. Make a note of the sex of your fish to identify male and female tanks, and jot down distinctive traits such as colors, patterns, tail size, etc., to help identify the strain you've produced. 5. Keep track of your breeding program and breeding techniques that you've implemented and the results you've gotten. 6. Make a note of breeding dates and delivery dates. You can also take pictures of your fish or make videos that can help you remember what you're doing and which tank is which, or record yourself with a voice recorder while you're setting things up. Whichever method works best for you to keep track of things, and don't mix up your fish in ways you don't intend to. With so many tanks and offspring, things can easily get out of hand and they can become confusing, so take the time to take notes or record the things you do. Culturing live food. You know by now that guppies are omnivorous fish that require a varied diet rich in both vegetable matter and meaty foods. While they are still in their growth phase, I like to feed my guppies a variety of foods including live cultured foods, which pack that extra punch of nutrients that will help my guppies grow faster and healthier. I know breeding can be stressful and difficult as it is, but I do encourage you to go the extra mile, and if your time allows it or you know a trustworthy vendor, feed your guppy fry cultured foods. If you're down to culturing your own live food, even better because there are various delicacies that you can culture at home including brine shrimp, daphnia, vinegar eels, microworms. Of all these, I consider baby brine shrimp to be the best type of cultured food to feed baby guppies. It's easy to start a culture at home too. You can set up your own brine shrimp hatchery at home, but first you need to purchase the eggs and a hatchery kit that you can easily find on Amazon. The eggs will hatch in about 1 to 3 days, and if you want to have fresh baby brine shrimp, I recommend setting up 3 different hatcheries. Daphnia is a bit more difficult to culture. It requires a separate tank, feeding, water movement, plus it produces a strong odor. So if you can source daphnia from someone else, go for it. Another live food that produces an off-putting smell if cultured at home is vinegar eels, which are otherwise easy to culture. Harvesting them, on the other hand, is a bit more difficult. Something that's easier to pull off than daphnia and vinegar eels are microworms, which require a sealed-off container, moisture, and a starter culture that should be fed with a bit of bread. They hatch in about 2 weeks and they are easy to harvest. Live foods are important to guppy fish that are still developing, because they offer them a fair amount of protein, fat, and some carbs. Adults don't really need to be fed with live foods, because of their high fat and protein content, but they too can benefit from an occasional snack. Besides cultured food options, there are other foods that you can prepare at home to avoid feeding them only flake foods. Preparing home-made food. If you don't want to make your own cultured foods, there are other things you can prepare for guppy fry or guppy adults. Guppy fry can enjoy the high protein content of egg paste, which is prepared by hard boiling an egg and crushing the yolk into a paste. But one food that may be even greater for guppy fry is beef heart paste, which is considered somewhat of a superfood for guppy fry. Apart from the beef heart, the paste can also contain shrimp, vegetables, spirulina powder, etc., all put together and minced by a food processor. Because of the high fat content, neither beef heart paste nor egg yolk paste is a healthy choice for adult guppies. For adult guppies, you can cook vegetables at home including zucchini, cucumber, carrots, spinach, cauliflower, peas, broccoli, cabbage and kale. You can run these through a food processor and put them in the freezer, breaking off small chunks at feeding time, or you can use it to make homemade flake food. You can add some extra ingredients to the paste like spirulina, shrimp, vitamins, minerals, etc. Put the paste on parchment paper and into the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Celsius, until it dries out. There isn't a single food category that's best for guppies, instead you should strive for variety. Feed your guppies once or twice a day with an amount they'll eat in under a minute. Since you're dealing with fancy guppy fish, be very careful about overfeeding and leaving uneaten food in the aquarium. Fancy guppy fish may be more sensitive to toxin spikes, so keep a nice and clean aquarium. So, veggie pellets, blanched vegetables, flake foods, both commercially available ones and homemade ones, freeze-dried foods, brine shrimp, bloodworms, tubifex, are all great options. Just make sure to vary them and don't feed them the same food day in and day out. A healthy diet is required for guppy fish not only because it will help them grow better and stay healthier, but also because it will help them develop their colors more beautifully. Conclusion: breeding guppy fish for selected traits can be a challenge even for aquarists that do have some experience under their belt. Still, this doesn't mean you shouldn't try your hand at selective guppy breeding, but do make sure to follow the advice in this video and document yourself about selective breeding techniques. As I pointed out, some guppy strains can be difficult to breed, which can result in a bigger scarcity and a higher price tag for them. If you're planning on taking up selective guppy fish breeding, be prepared to invest time, money and effort. However, the spectacular stains that you may end up creating will surely be very rewarding.